TV?
No, not yet. Yeah. Yeah, in a little bit of time, we'll let you know how the TV fits in. Anyhow, so tonight talking about time and how it works with practice. I want you to know that I'm not an expert on time. I did look up a little bit about the different theories of time and quantum theory, that there is no such thing as time, and there are all different theorists that talk about the mechanisms and theories around time, but I'm not going to get into that. But I did do a retreat years ago with Rodney Smith. It was a month long, and he talked a lot about time and the importance of our perception of time, and how our perception of time can change a lot, and how that time can be a real problem if we make it into a problem, or it can be a motivator if we turn it into a motivator. Yeah. So the first thing, that I want to just point to is that the moment that we're born into a timed society. Our parents are having to live within or whoever raised us in the mechanisms of time. We had to get up at a certain time each day, and that we learn that 24 hours are a day and 7 days to a week. And, we've been pretty conditioned in the zone of time and how important time is. My daughter, when she was growing up, she didn't have a concept of time. She was timeless. Always very happy too, because she didn't live in the world of the conditioned realm. She lived in a really happy, spacious place, and trying to get her up at the same time every morning, and trying to get her to bed, and trying to get her to follow time was a nightmare. Anybody had a child like that, or know someone like that? No, my son was very timely. But yeah. So I started to notice how my son, who was very timely, was much more stressed and anxious, whereas she, who was timeless, was much more spacious. And I think there's something to that, because I've noticed that in my own practice. The deeper my practice gets, the less time is important to me, the more spacious I become. But time is important, right? We have to live within the constructs of time. I know that, being in a Buddhist organization, group, you'd think it's, what I learned was that I need to start on time and end on time. Because there were certain people that, whether we were done or not, they were walking out the door right at the 30-minute hour. And that to a lot of people, time is very important to them, and they see time as a respect, right? And time is very important from a Buddhist standpoint. I'll get to that later. But we experience time as passing from the past to the present to the future. This is the way the mind conceives time, that right now is the present, the past, and the future. And it's constantly moving that way. So if we don't have a firm grasp on time, and if we're living too spaciously, I know I have to be very careful. If I'm meditating a lot, I have to set a lot of alerts so that I can be like, okay, what do I need to be doing now? Otherwise, I can totally lose track of time, get way too spacious, and then miss appointments and things. That's not good. But we have to, but if we don't have a firm handle on time, we're either moving too quickly or too slowly. You okay, dear? Yeah. That's okay, take your time. Yeah. It does have a lot to do with our daily existence. And, to a certain degree, anybody who read the books on success and becoming a successful person, they talk a lot about time management and how the successful people really use their time well. They know exactly, they have certain schedules, things that they get done. Usually successful people aren't real spaciously sitting around going, let's see what happens today. They're there, they're on it. So that's something to look at. So what is the Buddhism, right? What is Buddha? How is the Buddha pointing? First, I'm going to talk about Buddhism, because there are a lot of different theories in Buddhism around time, too. I was pretty shocked. But Buddhism sees time as a non-static phenomena that is changing from moment to moment. So whatever's happening right now is different from what's happening right now, which is different from right now, right? And they see time that refers to an interval that is individually, it's an individual mental continuum, right? So we need cognition, we need the brain in order to be able to recognize this interval right now, and then this interval right now. And this interval, the way the mind conceptualizes time, is between the experience of two sequential events. So this is, Zen Buddhism. Anyhow, so time that elapsed between the time that you got here and right now, right? Or two other events between birth and death, or that you need these events in order to be able to conceptualize time from here to there. Yeah. So time is relative to the mind that experiences it. And everybody experiences time differently, and I certainly experience time differently from moment to moment. Yeah. And we can conceptualize time as, like I said before, a day or a week or a year. I always find it, because I don't really get grounded in years and seasons and things like that, because I'm so present, try to stay present in the moment. And people are always like, oh, thank God, 2025. Thank God 2024 is over. And I'm like, okay. Because I don't tend to look at things from a year-to-year basis. But we can look into the sky and watch the colors change of a sunrise or a sunset, right? But we immediately conceptualize that this, if it's a sunrise, oh, this delineates the beginning of a new day. Yeah. Whereas an insect or some other species may look up to see the sky, notice the colors, and keep going on. They don't think, oh, it's a new day. Do you know what I mean? But we conceptualize, oh, new day. Oh, the day's over, the sun's setting. So we project a lot of conceptual things onto time from our experience and our conditioning. And we see things as arising and passing away according to our concepts of things. I just wonder what it would be like if we didn't have a concept of 24 hours or week or year, how we would be being. I don't know. We also experience time and how we view the intervals between cause and effect, especially in Buddhism. Buddhism talks a lot about cause and effect, right? If I drop, this heavy thing and it makes a big loud clash, hitting it is the cause, and then the effect is the big loud clang on the floor. Yeah. The other thing is periods of time exist. They actually, I don't want to sit here and go, they don't exist. Because we perceive time. We know that when we wake up tomorrow morning, the sun's going to be rising again. We know that it's going to get dark. In fact, now we have apps that tell us exactly when it's going to get dark and when the sun is going to rise. Yeah. Something is arising and passing away. Time, whether it's the concept of time or not, time is elapsing. Yeah, so I don't want to say there's no such thing as time, because I think that's delusional to some degree, because I'm no longer a young adult. Anybody here still a young adult? right? It's a delusion over here. Anyhow, yes, right? So I'm no longer a young adult, and I have memories of things from when I was young, but my energy is less than it used to be. My strength is not as, in my memory, all of them have decreased since I was a young adult. And, from a Buddhist perspective, we see things are constantly changing. All phenomena are changing. Things never stay the same. And we also see the law of entropy, that things that arise are going to break down and die. Yeah, these are laws of nature that we can study in this world. And the Buddha talked about that. Everything that arises, changes, and dies in the conditioned realm. And that's what we're supposed to be paying attention to, the present moment. And if we're paying attention to the present moment, we see clearly that everything's arising, changing, and dying. Some things take longer to pass away than others. But each moment is arising, changing, and passing. We can't hold on to one single moment. Anybody tried to hold on to a moment? Right? It's very painful, and it doesn't work. Yeah. So from our practice, our instructions for this practice is to be aware of what's happening in the present moment. Right now, right now, right now. And when we pay attention to the present moment, I see how many moments I actually waste, right? Dwelling on the past. I'm not much of a past person. I go to coffee with some friends, and they like to tell stories from their past, a lot of stories from the past. And I'm like, I don't usually spend a lot of time in the past, but if I spend any time, it'll be projecting into the future. Like, oh, I need to plan this and I need to do that. That's the way my mind, when it gets lost, tends to do. But with increased awareness, we keep bringing ourselves back into the present moment. We notice how just amazing the present moment is, how alive it is. There's so much to pay attention to. My grandson, he's 9 years old. He thinks everything is so boring. Anybody else been around a 9-year-old like that? If we've done it before, he's like, we've done that before, and he gets so bored. You're boring and you're old, he told me this last week. He said, you're old and you're boring. And I said, really? Okay, and I'm laughing. But I tried to tell him, I said, if you pay attention really closely to this moment has never happened before. And it's not boring, it's completely new. He just rolls his eyes and thinks I'm crazy. Maybe he'll get it someday, I don't know. But if we practice regularly, we see how the experience of time is changing, right? You guys notice this? Sure. Sometimes I've meditated, it has seemed like 10 minutes, and my timer goes off, and it was 45 minutes. I'm like, whoa, that was like that. Anybody had that experience? No. And the other times I meditate for 45 minutes that seemed like it was 3 hours. Like, oh my God, this is or I think, okay, 45 minutes is almost up, and I look at the clock, 10 minutes have passed. So how can that be? How can one day the concept of time appear to be slow, and other times so fast? It's changing. Yeah. So according to Buddhist teachings, we're constantly projecting the false belief of being an independent person, entity. We're an object existing in space and time, and we're going linearly from the past, the present, and the future, right? These are false beliefs. First of all, we're not independent, we're interdependent. And this linear thinking doesn't work, especially when you notice time doesn't always work the same. Yeah? Khenpo Rinpoche, Tibetan teacher, said, until concepts are exhausted, there is time and you make preparations. Yeah. And the sense of time creates suffering, creates a lot of suffering. If we don't understand that it's elusive and it's a tool, not something that, oh, when I want to do something, I want it now, or I want it as soon as possible. Yeah. And so this concept of time isolates and separates me. I'm an object that wants this other object in the space and time, and a lot of suffering and conceptual nonsense happens in between it. We want to see all this stuff really clearly. But Buddhism tells us that phenomenon exists dependent upon other causes and conditions. Yeah. So the mind is constantly separating everything out and trying to put it in some kind of orderly fashion. And we want to see the mind creating that sense of constancy, that it seeks safety and constancy. Reality is different, totally different. My own personal experience has been that when I'm fully present in the moment and I'm just here, the concept of time doesn't exist. It's almost like time is standing still. Because it's always the present. We had a clock in our second meditation center. We had our own room re-rented, and we had a big clock someone bought, and it had, instead of 3, 6, 9, and 12, it had now. And each little thing were little tiny nows. It was always now. I love that clock, but we got rid of it because it was going tick tock, tick tock, tick tock, and everybody was trying to meditate with this loud noise. They couldn't stand it. Anyhow, Christian writer Meister Eckhart says there exists only the present instant. There is no yesterday nor any tomorrow, but only now. It's pretty true. That's all we have is now. This is it right here. But I've noticed a lot of weird experiences with time. I've noticed that when I'm suffering, really suffering, and I want the suffering to be over, how do you think time is experienced?
It's like the disparity between now and another point in time where things are better.
Exactly. Yeah. So I'm wanting this suffering to be over. I want to already be in the future, and time slows way the hell down. Right? It seems to take forever when I'm living in the future of wanting something else. It seems to slow things down, right? Yeah, when I'm fully present, I'm really just being able to be fully present. This is my experience. It doesn't mean that there's a law that says any of this. I notice that time seems to fly by. Yeah, or slow. It's really weird. When I'm running late somewhere and I look at the time and I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to get there late. How is this happening? I decide to be fully present and enjoy the trip, enjoy the drive. And I almost invariably get there on time. Whereas if I'm rushing and stressed about the time, I'm definitely late. So this is like a time hack for me. It tends to work. So what does that mean? Is that slowing time down when I'm fully present? I don't know. Yeah, time seems to go by, seems to slow the clock down. Yeah. So according to the Buddha, we suffering humans, we can become fully embodied, develop wisdom and compassion, and break free from suffering. But some people see time as an illusion, an artifact of the mind. Suzuki Roshi said, I must do something this afternoon, but actually there is no this afternoon. So some Buddhists teach that time is not a concept that you want to get too involved in. In Theravada Buddhism, which I've been steeped in, time is perceived as cyclical and samsara. And samsara is where repetitive cycle of birth, death, and rebirth, birth, death, and rebirth. Yeah? So the Buddha talked about a lot of his past lives and all his past lives that he had that led him up to becoming a fully enlightened Buddha. He remembered all of his past lives. And he remembered the lifetime when he decided that he was going to become fully enlightened and quit messing around. And it took him like 100 lives or something after that. But anyhow, so he talks a lot about his past lives and the things that he learned in his past lives that he needed to learn. So he used that concept of time from past life as a sense to create urgency for people, right? This was what the Buddha, he asked his students once, he said, what's greater, the number of tears you've shed while transmigrating and wandering this long, long time, crying and weeping from being joined in what is displeasing, being separated from what is pleasing, or all the water in the 4 great oceans? And guess what one is greater? The number of tears you've shed over your many, many, many lifetimes is what he's saying, is greater than the 4 great oceans. And so he used this analogy to create urgency, like how many, do you want to keep doing this over and over and over, being born, seeking pleasure, suffering, and then dying, and being born, seeking pleasure, suffering? You know what I mean? Losing that which you love. He said, all the tears you've shed experiencing the death of a mother, experiencing the death of a father, the death of a brother, the death of a sister, the death of a son, the death of a daughter, loss with regard to relatives, loss regard to wealth, loss with regard to disease, the tears you have shed over loss with regard to, your own disease and other people's disease. So he goes on and on. This is the Asu Sutta that's called Tears. Yeah? And you may have heard Ram Dass, he's a Buddhist teacher. Many Buddhist teachers talk about, imagine a mountain 6 miles long, 6 miles wide, and 6 miles high, and every 100 years a bird flies over the mountain with a silk scarf in its beak and brushes the mountain with it. And that's how long it takes to wear away the mountain, is how long you've been on this journey. I don't know if I believe that. I don't remember, but that's, if that's true, that brings urgency, does it not? Yeah? Thich Nhat Hanh, great Vietnamese Buddhist teacher, says that according to Earth's history, we have all been gases, sunshine, water, fungi, and plants before. Yeah. But, the key to breaking free from the cycle of samsara, we see it in our own life, how we give birth to suffering and how we let go and have freedom and ease, is to be in the present moment, to constantly bringing ourselves back to the present moment. In the present moment, there is no time. We conceptualize it, but if we're present a lot, set timers. That's what I do. I have timers for everything. Yeah. This is where we can conceptualize or actually have direct experience of the Dhamma as the Buddha taught it, right? We can see what gives rise to peace, what gives rise to suffering, and the mind naturally lets go of that which gives rise to suffering, just from seeing it clearly, right? If you're sitting here pinching yourself and you're like, ow, my arm is hurting, my arm is hurting, my arm is hurting, but you don't know you're pinching yourself the whole time. And then you turn around and you look over and like, oh my God, I'm pinching myself, and you let go. There's a moment of peace. That's what mindfulness does for us. We have to look and see the different ways we're pinching ourselves and the way we're pinching others. The Buddha taught that time is free, but it's priceless. And we need to use it wisely, right? He suggested that we reflect on death often so that we could take the present moment seriously and take life more seriously. And he taught that time should not be wasted. We need to be effective with our time. And there's a legend that the Buddha used to say after the end of each one of his teachings, he would scream, "Wake up, time is running out." It's like, really? Wow. Yeah. And his very last words before he died, he went into a deep meditative trance and then died, was, all conditioned things are impermanent and changing. Practice with diligence and work hard for your own liberation. Yeah. And here's, I'm almost done. Chan Master Hyungyang, Buddhist teacher. In this moment, there's nothing that comes to be. In this moment, there's nothing that ceases to be. Thus, there is no birth and death to be brought to an end. Thus, the absolute peace is in this present moment. Though it is at this moment, there is no limit to this moment, and herein lies eternal delight. And, you'll start to experience this. There's an amazing amount of peace and delight that comes in being fully in the present moment. Yeah, like I try to teach my grandson. So thank you for your listening. And let's open it up to the group.